Hi, I'm Celeste and welcome to Find Your Purple. Well, it's Sunday and I've already gone to church. I've had my lunch, I did my worship walk, and it's a gorgeous day, a little bit windy, hence the wind-blown hair. But I wanted to get my video out. And so when I was doing my walk, I thought about talking on the subject that came from the sermon today. I go to one chapel. It meets in a movie theater here in Kyle, Texas. And Pastor Brent is doing a series, and it's called Life in the Spirit. So here's a shout out to Pastor Brent. Yes, some of us do write on our notes, and we do remember what you talked about. But the subject was Life in the Spirit 3, week 3, and it was God's Not Done. It was really a good sermon for me. Now that I'm in my 60s, sometimes you kind of think, well, you know most of your life is behind you, because even if I live to be 100, that's still less than 40 years left. So I've lived longer than I'm going to live regardless. But you wonder sometimes what else is laying out there for you. And he mentioned a phrase of, as long as you're breathing, God's not done with you yet. And he gave the example of Joseph, because sometimes we're sitting there thinking God's done with us or he's forgotten about us or something. And he gave the story of Joseph in his multicolored coat. And briefly, the story is there's 12 brothers, Joseph being one of them, and Joseph is the favorite of his father. And Joseph is a little arrogant, so he rubs it in a bit, unknowingly maybe, but he comes down one day and says, hey, I had a dream and you guys are all going to bow to me, which they didn't appreciate. Then his father didn't help matters by giving a gorgeous multicolor robe, and that irritated him. And so Joseph's out one day, and they're out one day, and they see him, and they decide they're going to kill him. Now, ultimately, they don't kill him, but he gets sold into slavery. And this guy, Potiphar, or something like that, Potiphar, some wealthy guy that worked for the Pharaoh, ends up taking him into his home as a worker, and Joseph impresses everyone and is doing well, so he's landed on his feet. And then Potiphar's wife takes an interest in Joseph because Joseph's a good-looking guy, and unfortunately she won't take no for an answer, so she accuses him of a rape, which then puts Joseph in prison. So Joseph's probably not real happy with the whole situation and wondering why God is letting this happen, since it's not his fault. So he's in prison a while, and he comes in, and again, he impresses the jailers, and over time, he's trusted. And there's two people in there from, I guess, the Pharaoh's household, a cupbearer and a baker. And so they each have a dream, and Joseph's known for being able to interpret dreams, so he tells them, and one of them is going to get his job back, and one of them is going to be killed. Well, lo and behold, that's exactly what happens. So the cupbearer is going to go back to his job, and Joseph says, tell the Pharaoh about me and get me out of here, which the cupbearer immediately forgets, and Joseph's disappointed again and stuck in jail until the Pharaoh has a dream, and none of his people can explain it. It's about fat cows and skinny cows and cows eating cows, and sounds like one of my crazy dreams, but it's got the Pharaoh worried. So the cupbearer mentions there's this guy in prison named Joseph who can interpret dreams. So they call Joseph. Joseph interprets it in about years of abundance and then years of famine. And by the end of it, the Pharaoh's convinced, and he puts Joseph as second in command and to help the country through this. Then, long story short, years pass, there is an abundance, then there's a famine, and his family is starving, and they come to get food from the warehouse. And Joseph ends up having a reunion with them, and all of the things basically happen for a reason. And when I was walking down the pond, I don't know if you've gone to Disney World, and the song "It's a Small World After All" plays over and over in your head. Well, today there was a worship song, and it's all things go together for your good, or something is the chorus, and it's all things work together for our good. And so that was playing the entire time I walked around the pond. But that's what the story is with Joseph. Every piece of it, had any piece of it not worked, then he wouldn't have been able to save his family. But God knows all those pieces are needed. It's not coincidence all those pieces happened. And the story of Esther, a Jewish girl who wins the beauty contest, becomes queen, saves the Jewish people. Again, all the things happen for a reason. God wasn't done with either of them. But Joseph might have thought he was done with them, because there's a 20-year period between, I guess, the time he was sold into slavery to the time he was able to save his family. And so he probably questioned whether God was forgetting about him or done with him. And if you look at your life or people, you can hear people's stories. That's why I think stories are so important. Because even if you didn't have something you can point to because you're too close to it, when you look at other people's stories, you say, oh, wow, that really is a bunch of coincidences, which obviously aren't coincidences. God had a plan. But sometimes you're too close to it to see what it is until years later you lay things out and it's like, wow, that really did all work for my good. So I thought that was a cool message. So any of you out there, if you're in the middle of a divorce or a bankruptcy or financial troubles or struggling or health issues and all of that, you're in the middle of that storm, know that God is there and God is going to make all things work together for your good. I know that might be hard to believe, and it does require you to trust God, but you got to go to the faith. You've got to dig deep and read the stories of Joseph and Esther and see the tribulations and obstacles they ran into and try to apply them to your life. But in any case, just read the Bible and pray and know that God knows you're there. God knows what you're going through. God hasn't forgotten you, nor is he done with you yet. As long as you're breathing, he's not done with you. So that's it for today. As always, grab your cup of tea, sit back, and let's start sharing. Until next time, bye-bye.